you'll enjoy your stay in Westworld.
Hold it!
The ultimate resort.
Let me do it this time.
Where nothing can possibly go wrong.
I'm shot.
Go wrong.
Raw.
Go
Oh
wrong.
my God.
Shut down. Shut down immediately.
Highlight of the week.
the blues. This is Hot Wampa episode 34. Would have been recorded last Saturday. Unfortunately, I had family circumstances that kind of prohibited that at the time. One of those things, life throws stuff up. So here we are, middle of the week, having a crack at a podcast. Get it over and done with and out of the way. Quite a bit on Star Wars. I don't know what you've brought with you on Star Wars.
I've got 3 stories.
Right.
I don't know if they're intertwined with yours, but I can see you've got a paragraph and a bit. So
That's to do with the composer. Have you got that?
yeah, I've got that story. Yeah. So,
Okay. And it's the sort of original Terminator, really, isn't it? For
Yeah,
showcase.
yeah, definitely.
Yul Brynner in Westworld. Michael
Yeah.
Crichton's Westworld.
Yeah. So some. I think with this film that we're going to cover, it's interesting that it connects to so many sci-fi films in the last 20 years or so. So
There's a lot of influences.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish I'd bookmarked it the other night, and I can't find it on Google searches. But I was sort of looking for stuff on the film, and I came across one of these lists of top 10 characters you don't want chasing you from the movies.
Yeah.
Yul Brynner's character as the gunfighter was in that list.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into that as we go on. And I've got one local news story. I don't know if you've got anything, have you?
Yeah, I've got. Let's see. I've probably got 4 local news stories, but they're short, so
Yeah.
we won't sort of. Some things from Hull again. Cambridge, local as well in Ely. So yeah, there's a few bits and pieces.
Yeah, Hull's not really local, but we are.
It's not local, no.
We are following the story of the Hull werewolf, aren't we?
Yeah,
So,
old stinker. So
it's relevant, yeah. Okay, then. Let's kick off with Star Wars. This is taken from the Hollywood Reporter website, dated September the 15th, 2016. Star Wars Rogue One replaces its composer. Alexandre Desplat was originally slated to compose the music for the new movie. Then the reshoots happened. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, the first standalone movie in the Star Wars franchise, will be whistling a new tune. Michael Giacchino, the composer behind such films as the Star Trek reboot and Pixar movies ranging from The Incredibles to Inside Out, will score the upcoming pick, stepping in for Alexandre Desplat, who was originally slated to work on the movie. The recent reshoots are behind the switch, according to sources. Rogue One underwent extensive reshoots this summer that saw writer Tony Gilroy take on a filmmaker role during the shoot and the post-production process, as Disney and Lucasfilm sought to clarify story and tonal issues for the pick that is set to open on December the 16th. But the reshoots also altered the scoring calendar, and Desplat, who won an Oscar for the Grand Budapest Hotel, was no longer available. Disney and Lucasfilm then turned to Giacchino, who was in a long relationship with the studio and its various divisions. For Pixar, the maestro created the music for Incredibles, Ratatouille, or whatever that is.
Ratatouille.
Yeah, that is some bizarre foreign word. I thought that was a dish.
It is, yeah. That's what happens in the film, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's about a rat that can make ratatouille.
All right. I don't feel like I've missed much then by not
I don't
knowing
think.
that.
Yeah, no, it's just courgettes and tomatoes.
Yeah, for which he won an Oscar, Cars 2 and Inside Out. For its live-action film division, he has worked on Sky High, John Carter and Tomorrowland. For Disney Animation this year, Giacchino scored its surprise hit, Zootopia. And he's making his Marvel Studio debut with Doctor Strange, which opens November the 4th. With Rogue One, he will end up working for all 4 of Disney's film arms. Giacchino is also a Star Wars fan and appeared as a stormtrooper in Star Wars The Force Awakens, directed by his pal J.J. Abrams, and for whom he has scored films and television shows. Giacchino will now become the first composer to work on a Star Wars movie other than the film series' iconic mainstay John Williams, who is slated to return for Star Wars Episode 8. A change in composers.
I noted down that it was a bit late in the day.
This is what I'm thinking, less than 100 days.
Yeah.
I mean, less than 100 days to knock up a film score. I mean, you do read about films and that where someone says, oh yeah, I wrote it in one night, and that's the score that stands.
Yeah.
But for something that's as music focused as Star Wars,
yeah, it seems very late. But listening to what you said there, you know, things like Star Trek films, I thought the music was good. The Incredibles, obviously, is that fast pace, is decent. So he's like one of those composers, perhaps like I don't know, like James Horner or Hans Zimmer. When you see his name a couple of times and you think, oh, he did that as well, but because this looks like he's got a great CV there, so I'm not so disappointed now.
Quite a different style of film, though. I mean, I perhaps think he's probably more suited for a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Other than this other character, Desplat, or however you want to say it, who's scored things like the Grand Budapest Hotel, which seems like a bit of a departure.
Have you seen the Grand Budapest Hotel?
No.
No, it is really funny. It's a bit of a farce, and the music is like classic sort of let's say Bohemian strings and stuff like that. So it's kind of fast paced as well.
So it's a bit eclectic.
Yeah. So I could see why both of these guys would be linked. I mean, for your average Star Wars fan, I think it's just when we look at a composer, we're like, not John Williams. You know, that's the surprise, isn't it? So you've got to get it right.
I mean, it's obviously this is because of the reshoots, and it's late in the day to be changing the score. Do you think the reshoots are changing the tone of the film that much? They need to
definitely. I think we talked about
the score or adjust that score to
and
fit that.
Maybe a bit more upbeat, a bit more jolly, because you know we said it was a bit dark, and they've kind of added a bit more humour to it, so perhaps that's the reason. When you talk about Disney and Marvel, you know, they're a bit more jolly, sort of that kind of theme.
Yeah,
you know,
it like you said, it does make you think this late in the day though. Are they in trouble here? You know what I mean? Just to get this thing out.
Will you buy the soundtrack?
Well, I probably will.
Because you've got all the others, haven't you? Haven't you? So
I'm a bit of a completionist like that.
Yeah, I think we are. I think men are in general. Maybe you'll disagree, but yeah, I don't think women are so desperate to complete the list. I think men are in general.
I think they're a bit more sort of pick and choose.
Yeah.
Whereas we stay with something.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. It does make you wonder though if they're in some sort of bother with this.
It does, and I'm sure we'll get a taster, you know, from Apple or someone like that. You know, the beginning of the first 30 seconds of one of the scores will come out soon, won't it? November?
I don't know.
October, November, we're getting there, aren't we?
Tomorrow is what they call Force Friday, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's when all the new merchandise gets released, don't they? So I imagine there'll be lots of stuff in the stores, action figures, Lego kits and stuff like that. I mean, things like books and soundtracks and stuff always tend to come out much closer to the film's release, don't they?
That's right, because they don't want to reveal the track lists and stuff like that, do they?
Yeah. You know, like the Phantom Menace moment.
Yeah,
They released it earlier and had a track on there called Qui-Gon's Noble End or whatever it was. And basically, spoiler alert there. But I mean, let's hope they're not in some sort of bother with this. But I mean, like yourself, I do think this is a bit late in the day to start chopping and changing that formula.
Yeah, I think we were talking in one of the former podcasts about Aliens.
Yeah.
And that was a case, I think James Horner sort of had a few things on the go, and he just sort of said, hey, how about this? And mixed a couple of different parts together, and it worked so well, you know. So, yeah, sometimes it works, you know, it depends. I mean, if you're a composer, you've got things on the go all the time, and I'm sure you've got pieces of music and you're not sure what you're going to put it to, but eventually a project will come along and you're like, actually that will fit perfectly.
Yeah, you're sitting around and having an idea on a day off or something.
Yeah.
And at some point in the future you get a chance to apply that idea.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's not just from scratch. I'm sure he has got some idea about it. And being a fan, you know, hopefully like us, you know, you could say actually this fits in well with the Star Wars sort of musical themes.
Well, let's hope so. Yeah.
I guess we're going to hear Vader's theme and things like that, and it's going to be incorporated, things like that, characters that are going to be in it. So.
Or at least a sort of variation of it, or bars of it within other pieces of music and stuff, don't we?
And as a musician, you imagine getting access to that and saying, actually, you can use some of this in your score, you know.
Yeah.
It must be a thrill, so.
Yeah. Why can't they say the same to us as podcasters?
Yeah.
I don't know. We're still not on Google Play, by the way.
No, I mentioned that earlier, didn't I? Because I wasn't sure if they finally let us out of the box in Europe, but...
I don't know. I might try and con them.
Yeah.
Because we're hosted from the US anyway.
Yeah.
So I might see whether perhaps they'll accept it.
Well,
but the trouble is our Google address is going to be in the UK if we apply through that. I don't know.
Maybe we've got a friend in the USA that could help us out.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? That's all I've got on Star Wars. What have you got?
I've got EA Star Wars have announced the Death Star expansion pack.
I've seen some video footage
Battlefront,
from this.
and it looks really good fun. Yeah. It's great with modern gaming that it's not just an add-on. It's almost a whole different context of the game. Where you're flying down the trenches in the Death Star, or you're Chewbacca with a bowcaster on the Death Star. It looks really good. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, more cost. After Bespin, it's just, but it seems good value. You're getting.
How much are you paying for this?
It's like £20. So.
And they just download it down your phone line or whatever.
Yeah, you just download it directly onto your Xbox or PlayStation 4, and it's ready to go.
Can you remember the good old days when we were kids and you brought a game and you had the game?
Yeah.
And that was it.
You had the game.
Yeah. If the game was any good, they brought out a sequel, so you brought the sequel.
Yeah, that's right. A Hedgehog Records in Ely or something like that.
Yeah, nowadays you're out there, I don't know, whatever it was, School Days or Beachhead 2.
Oh, yeah.
Raid Over Moscow, all the classics. Nowadays you buy a game, then you have to actually pay for all the levels. Seems a bit of a con.
Well, I mean, the actual Battlefront game was quite large.
Yeah.
It was quite large. But I like the fact that gaming today is organic. I really enjoyed Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3. They're great war games. But sometimes, you get players that know the maps so well. You can be a sniper in one point and, you're going to pick off 100 people and, have a really... So it's nice that they've got new levels, so if you're good at the game, but it's fresh for everybody.
Yeah.
And then everyone gets the same start in a way, so...
I suppose so. It's more of a leveller, isn't it?
Yeah.
It keeps you on your toes.
Definitely. So, anyway, the videos look good, so I'll be interested to play it and, receive any feedback from people that have had a go on it. So.
Yeah.
The other piece I got was Star Wars Episode 8. Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, has said it's similar to Empire Strikes Back. Episode 8, which I think is kind of like a poor choice of words. It's like, do we want that comparison?
Especially after the comparisons between The Force Awakens and A New Hope.
Yeah. So you do wonder whether actors should just keep their mouth shut until after the film is released.
Yeah, but then I heard people say the same about Attack of the Clones, that it was going to be darker and more like Empire Strikes Back, and I don't know. You take your choices if there's anything like it, but I don't know. I mean, that could be as much just a throwaway comment. I wouldn't sort of read into that literally.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Well, I love The Empire Strikes Back, so they're not going down the wrong road if it is similar, but we would like something sort of new, wouldn't we?
Something original.
Yeah.
Instead of mocking something that's great.
So this looks like it's going to be a family show, I guess, Episode 8. So.
Yeah. The latest Snoke rumours I've seen online on the various video blogs I follow on YouTube is that it's actually Mace Windu now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's been everyone, hasn't it? It's been Darth Plagueis, Mace Windu. Who else has it been?
Who else? Yeah. Palpatine.
I don't know about Palpatine. It's been Anakin Skywalker.
Anakin, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's been all sorts of people, hasn't it?
But Mace Windu, I mean, we never saw him die.
It's been that little boy that, Master Skywalker.
That's him. Yeah, the little Jedi youngling.
Yeah, it's been everyone.
Yeah.
This typical film rules, isn't it? If you didn't see a body, he's not dead.
That's right. And Mace Windu, as Samuel L. Jackson said, he could still be alive somewhere.
Yeah,
so.
go down the Dallas route. It was all a dream.
Yeah.
Anakin wakes up in the shower and it's all a dream.
Yeah. See Mace Windu in the shower, yeah.
Wasn't
I am not dead.
Wasn't there an episode of Dynasty where one of them got taken away by a UFO?
Yeah, unfortunately, I never watched
That's got to be worth a
Dynasty.
showcase.
Yeah, you reckon? That's sci-fi, isn't it? What?
Shoulder pads and all the rest. Yeah.
I watched a few episodes of Dallas as a young kid, and that was through what was her name? The Victoria Principal. Yeah, she was a very attractive lady. Even for like 11 or 12-year-old, you recognise that she was quite a nice looking woman. So, but Dynasty, no, I didn't go down that route. It was Stephanie Beacham and Joan Collins and stuff like that. Yeah, weren't my cup of tea.
No.
Falcon's Crest and Knots Landing, all of these kind of American soaps of those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, not enough sci-fi in them. I guess even Buck Rogers had the shoulder pads, didn't it? So
Yeah.
it was that kind of era.
Yeah. I mean, I never watched that stuff. My parents watched it, so I was forced to endure it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how come I know there was an UFO abduction in one episode, but yeah. So, well, I don't know if we run what we've got for Star Wars at the moment.
I think that's it for Star Wars at the moment. Yeah, but keep an eye on the Facebook and Twitter, and any news stories, we'll be sure to put them on there.
Yeah, it's been quite quiet on there lately from our listeners, really, hasn't it?
Well, it'd be interesting, as you said on Friday, what new merchandise comes out and what that reveals about the new film. So
yeah, there's also a few spoilers, isn't it?
Yeah,
Stuff
definitely.
you can extrapolate from it. Okay, let's move on to Showcase.
If we're going to be damned, let's be damned for what we really are. You're listening to Hot Wampa.
Kind of relevant as we get in the HBO remake, aren't we?
Yeah.
I think is it going to be a mini-series and a series, or is it going to be a film and a series? Or?
at the moment, it's 10 episodes.
10 episodes.
Yeah.
These things only have 10 episodes, don't they? And
Yeah.
see whether it gets axed or not.
Well, HBO are very clever, I think, because a lot of channels tend to go on for the 24 episodes or whatever. In the old English series, would used to be like six shows. If you're lucky, you get a second series, 6 shows. But Americans with HBO, I think 10 is pretty good. I think that's a good number.
Yeah, I mean, it's HBO as well. I've got a sort of habit of doing quite good short mini-series of things like the sort of Band of Brothers and the Pacific and stuff. I think that was all HBO, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they're not afraid to go in with a bit of violence or sex and stuff like that. They're pretty. They recognise their audience very well, I think.
I've heard that the new one is a little bit racy in parts.
Yeah,
Well,
it looks it. Yeah, you've got Tandy Newton and stuff as a sort of Western madam or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks good.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out then when that comes out, and we'll perhaps come back to that at some future point if there's an appetite for it.
Yeah, it's when is it? October the 4th on Sky Atlantic.
Okay.
And of course it's J.J. Abrams and Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother. So
Ed Harris is the gunslinger.
he looks good.
You think?
Yeah, he looks good in the trailers. Maybe a bit old. But Anthony Hopkins. I mean, you've got a killer cast there. James Marsden.
Yeah.
Tandy Newton. Is it Evan Rachel Wood? So yeah, good.
Okay, let's have a look at the original one then. The one that started it, or started so many things actually. A lot of influences came from Westworld, which is a 1973 science fiction western thriller film written and directed by novelist Michael Crichton. Yes, he of Jurassic Park fame. And produced by Paul Lazarus III about amusement park robots that malfunction and begin killing visitors. It stars Yul Brynner as an android in a futuristic western-themed amusement park, which is a sentence that doesn't sound like you'd ever say.
No.
It doesn't fit together. And Richard Benjamin and James Brolin as guests of the park. Westworld was the first theatrical feature directed by Michael Crichton. It was also the first feature film to use digital image processing to pixelate photography to simulate an android point of view. The film was nominated for Hugo, Nebula and Saturn Awards and was followed by a sequel film, Future World, and a short-lived television series, Beyond Westworld. In August 2013, HBO announced plans for a television series based on the original film. Sometime in the near future, a high-tech, highly realistic adult amusement park called Delos features 3 themed worlds: Westworld, the American Old West; Medieval World, medieval Europe; and Roman World, the ancient Roman city of Pompeii. The resort's 3 worlds are populated with lifelike androids that are practically indistinguishable from human beings. each programmed in character for their assigned historical environment. For $1,000 per day, guests may indulge in any adventure with the android population of the park, including sexual encounters and even a fight to the death. I mean, two could be the same thing, really. Delos' tagline in its advertising promises, "Boy, have we got a vacation for you." Peter Martin, played by Benjamin, a first-time Delos visitor, and his friend John Blaine, played by Brolin, on a repeat visit go to a Westworld. One of the attractions is the Gunslinger, played by Yul Brynner, a robot programmed to instigate gunfights. The firearms issued to the park guests have temperature sensors that prevent them from shooting humans or anything with a high body temperature, but allow them to kill the cold-blooded androids. The Gunslinger's programming allows guests to draw their guns and kill it, with a robot always returning the next day for another duel. The technicians running Delos notice problems begin to spread like an infection among the androids. The robots in Roman world and medieval world begin experiencing an increasing number of breakdowns and systemic failures, which is said to have spread to Westworld. When one of the supervising computer scientists scoffs at the analogy of an infectious disease, he is told by the chief supervisor, "We aren't dealing with ordinary machines here. These are highly complicated pieces of equipment, almost as complicated as living organisms. In some cases they've been designed by other computers. We don't know exactly how they work." The malfunctions become more serious when a robotic rattlesnake bites Blaine in the Westworld, and against its programming, an android refuses a guest's advances in medieval world. The failures escalate until medieval world's Black Knight robot kills a guest in a sword fight. The resort's supervisors try to regain control by shutting down power to the entire park. However, the shutdown traps them in central control when the doors automatically lock, unable to turn the power back on and escape. Meanwhile, the robots in all three worlds run amok, operating on reserve power. Martin and Blaine, passed out drunk after a barroom brawl, wake up in Westworld's bordello, unaware of the park's massive breakdown. When the Gunslinger challenges the men to a showdown, Blaine treats the confrontation as an amusement until the robot outdraws, shoots and mortally wounds him. Martin runs for his life and the robot implacably follows. Martin flees to the other areas of the park, but finds only dead guests, damaged robots and a panicked technician attempting to escape Delos, who is shortly thereafter shot by the Gunslinger. Martin climbs down through a manhole in Roman world into the underground control complex and discovers that the resort's computer technicians suffocated in the control room when the ventilation system shut down. The Gunslinger stalks him through the underground corridors, so he runs away until he enters a robot's repair lab. When the Gunslinger comes into the room, Martin pretends to be a robot, throws acid into its face and flees, returning to the surface inside the medieval world castle. With its optical inputs damaged by the acid, the Gunslinger is unable to track him visually and tries to find Martin using its infrared scanners. Martin stands behind the flaming torches of the Great Hall to mask his presence from the robot before setting it on fire with one of the torches. The burned shell of the Gunslinger attacks him on the dungeon steps before succumbing to its damage. Martin sits on the dungeon steps in a state of near exhaustion and shock as the irony of Delos' slogan resonates. "Boy, have we got a vacation for you."
Great.
Yeah.
Just listening to you read that, really, it just sounds like the ultimate kid's dream, doesn't it? Like Western cowboys against medieval knights and stuff like that. Like we were talking about Time Bandits recently.
You could mash it up.
Yeah, it sounds like a perfect mashup, doesn't it? That Crichton's, created on his bedroom floor, when he was like 12 or something. So, yeah.
Pretty groundbreaking film for its time.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got the logo printed on my notes here. And,
yes, you have.
And Crichton with Jurassic Park, that logo was very prominent, and Westworld as well. It's really, maybe that's one of the first things he comes up with when he designs these evil corporations. Let's get a logo first and work from that. So yeah, groundbreaking, as you said. First use of digitalized images as part of a feature film, the Gunslinger's point of view, and it took 8 hours to produce each 10 seconds of that.
Did it really?
Yeah. Unlike the Commodore Amiga.
This podcast.
Yeah, like this podcast. Unlike the Commodore Amiga used for RoboCop, which was probably about 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you see it the other day.
Yeah.
So, does it still seem fresh to you, do you think?
No.
No.
Well, it seems relevant though. It looks dated. We've got a great review here from Dean Sheppard, and we'll give that a readout in a minute. And a lot of Dean's points I agree with. The font of the film, the hairstyles, and all the rest of it is clearly a 70s movie.
Yeah.
The way the stewardesses look on the hovercraft, and what's all that all about?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I see Yul Brynner, and he looks almost identical to the way he does in like the Magnificent Seven films. It was dressed identically, isn't he?
He's dressed
interchangeable.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
To me, it looks dated, and the special effects look dated. I mean, we'll forget the fact that the special effects were groundbreaking at the time it was done.
Budget-wise, Dave, $1.25 million.
Yeah. Well, in '73, that's probably quite a bit.
Probably, but it grossed $10 million.
Yeah.
And $4 million in video rentals.
But I think you have to offset that against the fact that the story is a very good story. For its time, it's certainly original enough then that they're considering remaking it now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the things that we know now are fact are speculated on and hinted at in this film.
Yeah.
So you have to give it its chops. And I also think the character of the Gunslinger is a brilliant character.
Definitely, yeah.
I wouldn't want him chasing me.
No.
And the selection of Yul Brynner to play him, bang on, right on the money. And I think Yul Brynner enjoyed this role.
I think he did. As you said, you know, it is a direct homage to the Magnificent Seven's Chris. And
Yeah.
he wears the same costume, as you said, Dave. But Yul Brynner, I mean, he never really fitted in Hollywood. You know, his face, his look, you know, he was in The King and I and films like that, The Ten Commandments, Future World, which I haven't seen. And
So I think he's only got a brief cameo in that. I don't think his role in that is as comprehensive as it is in this.
yeah, I heard Future World was a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, he was from Vladivostok, wasn't he?
Yeah, in the Russian East.
Yeah, far near in Japan, isn't it?
Yeah,
right
it's out in the Pacific way, isn't it?
It's interesting his journey to Hollywood. I wonder how he got there. You know, probably by horse. But yeah, it's definitely one of the most sort of intimidating characters in movies.
Yeah, I mean, it looks dated, but it's still a very good film.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the story and the concept in the film and some of the ideas in the film are just as valid and relevant today.
Yeah.
In fact, there were things that at the time this were made were being hinted at, which we now know, as I've said, are fact today.
Yeah.
Like this infectious going around the machines and shutting the machines
That's right.
down. Today, computer viruses are commonplace. I think this is probably one of the first films we actually hint at that idea.
It is, yeah, and they call it a disease, don't they? Very early reference to computer virus, yeah. So yeah, he's the first, yeah.
It looks dated, and I mean, Dean. Actually, we'll give Dean's review a read out
let's
now,
hear it, yeah.
because a lot of what Dean's got to say, well, kind of the way I was going to describe it anyway. So he's kind of stolen my words a little bit.
Bloody hell,
But I like Dean because he always does give that review that kind of says it in a layman's way, but still comes across in a very intelligent way. And I think he nails a lot of the points about the movie. So this came in from Dean Sheppard on the 16th of September. That's his Westworld review. Hello, folks. Having only watched Westworld recently, I thought I must give you my review of this classic for your showcase. I have seen it a few times in the past and was happy to revisit the film and wish to share some thoughts on the film. Firstly, it is, dare I say it, rather dated. Some of the early special effects are a little ropey, probably down to budget, but when we get into the theme park itself and the story takes over, we soon forget about the Thunderbird-esque craft and the holiday makers are riding. The concept is great, and a nod has to go to a pre-Jurassic Michael Crichton for both writing, directing and coming up with the idea of the ultimate immersive theme park. Who wouldn't want to live out their fantasies in a resort where you could have shootouts with cowboys, jousts and fight evil knights, and do whatever they used to do in ancient Rome? The story arc of the main character, Peter Martin, is a joy to watch, from a hesitant lawyer to gun-tout and outlaw in a little under an hour, and we're with him every step of the way, from when he first meets the major antagonist in Yul Brynner's Cowboy in Black, to when he finally survives his ordeal. It's easy to see how influential this film must have been to future filmmakers. It gave us theme parks gone wrong before Jurassic Park, it gave us unstoppable cyborg killers before Terminator, and it gave us sex robots before Daryl Hannah's Pre in Blade Runner. A vast amount of praise, of course, has to go to Mr. Brenner and his outstanding performance as the android gunslinger. He's relentless, scary and mesmerising in equal measures, and considering he has such little dialogue in the movie, he still gives a standout performance. His menacing glare and unflinching demeanour is faultless, and you really believe he is an unstoppable killing machine. The film, however, is not without its faults. The plotline in Medieval World is entirely irrelevant and only serves the purpose of introducing the Black Knight, only to have this character thoroughly underused. I would have liked to have seen him more from the protagonist and was hoping for some sort of bigger payoff from him. The cowboy in black inexplicably turns from sharp shooting machine to not being able to hit a barn door at the drop of a cowboy hat. He misses the hero on multiple occasions, at only a few yards away, and then moments later he takes out a fleeing technician at 100 yards with one easy shot. And then there is the ending. If I'm honest, I wanted more. From the moment the hero attempts to dispatch his pursuer with some sulfuric acid, I was anticipating a mammoth final battle, only to beat the unbeatable with some fire, and that's it. Criticisms aside, however, it really is an enjoyable film and really opened up the genre, and I can't wait to see how HBO deal with the concept in the soon-to-be-released TV series. And I still wait for technology to catch up, and then we can all visit a real-life Westworld, ensuring sufficient safety parameters are in place first, of course.
Yeah, that as you said, Dean, good review. I mean, yeah, he's spot on there, and the dated effects, and you know, it's the trope about the guy. He's a great gunfighter and misses the hero on multiple occasions. You know, that's a plot device that, you know, has to be overlooked, I guess.
Maybe it's just lucky.
You
keep shooting, you're going to hit something eventually. Sometimes you're going to miss. I don't know. There's a few little things like that. We know the gunslinger can see in infrared because in part of the film, when he's tracking Martin, he's actually looking to the ground, and you see the pixelated view of the ground, but you can actually see where Martin's feet have fallen on the ground, right, marked in the exact shade of red.
Yeah.
So you think, well, that's how he's tracking him. There's residual heat from his foot on the ground, and he's following that. Because I think at one stage Martin goes up a stream, and the gunslinger finds it difficult to track him, and he can't work out where the steps have gone until he figures it out. Go forward a little bit from that. He's in the labs, he's grabbed the acid, and he's hiding up under a blanket alongside all the androids that are in there lined up waiting to be serviced. The gunslinger's walking down the centre of that. Surely, if he's got the capability to see an infrared in the heat spectrum, he would notice that one of these androids has a heat signature and the rest of them are cold, and figure it out. It's obviously an intelligent machine. So why doesn't he, just pop him off there and then instead of walking past and then realising and turning around, and by that stage it's too late. He's got a face full of, Sarson's pickling vinegar or whatever it is he chucks at him.
It smacks of Predator, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it is obviously...
It's a bit like Dean's pointed out with his shooting ability. It's an inconsistency to the character of what we've seen to be quite a relentless and capable killer.
Yeah.
Also, at what stage do the guns get altered so that he can shoot a living being?
And also how many bullets. There was that, I believe that, he does fire too many at one point.
I think it does at one stage on the rifle, at the stage when Martin dismounts the horse and he's hiding in them rocks just before the technician scene, and he's sort of firing off with his rifle all around him, and he's sort of cocking the rifle and the thing keeps going.
Yeah. And
it's not the sort of number of rounds that a rifle from that era would carry. It's way more than that.
I mean, I agree with Dean. A lot of his points are spot on, especially about the dating of the film. But I guess Michael Crichton, like our parents probably, our grandparents, the Western was the big movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Western, people like, Gary Cooper and John Wayne and, actors like that. And to somehow come up with this idea of fusing, science fiction and the Old West, you could see there was a big audience there, and Crichton has done a great job in the story. I've never read the novel, actually.
No, well, he directed this, so I'm guessing he wrote it as a film as such. I know he was only around 30 when he did it, when he wrote and directed Westworld.
That's a hell of a job to get, isn't it, at 30?
Yeah, and like I said, things like Yul Brynner as the gunslinger, excellent. The other characters, Peter Martin, I don't really feel that invested in him. Maybe because he's a lawyer on £1,000 a day just to go and have his way with a few android hussies and shoot a few others. rich man's playground, perhaps. I don't know. I mean, we could never afford to go to Westworld.
$1,000 a day, and that was back then.
Yeah, it took me 3 years to get the Legoland.
Exactly. Yeah, the lawyer is interesting because obviously in Jurassic Park we had a lawyer, didn't we? Go along as well.
Yeah.
So that's an ongoing thing. He's probably had problems with lawyers in the past.
I think he's had a dodgy divorce or
yeah,
something
probably
like that.
at least one. What I found, Dave, with the cast, there was no sort of outstanding star other than Yul Brynner.
No.
I mean, the rest of them. I mean, like Peter Martin.
Peter Martin is adequate.
Catch-22, Ray Bradbury Theatre, Ray Donovan on TV at the moment, still going. James Brolin, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Fantastic Voyage, Capricorn 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, touched on a bit of sci-fi. The interesting one was the medieval knight, Norman Bartold. He was in Dragnet, The Littlest Hobo, okay, but Close Encounters and Capricorn 1, so it's got a couple of sci-fi. Whenever we look back and research these films...
You've missed a blatant sci-fi one there, you've missed there.
What one's that?
Nurse Chapel.
Nurse Chapel. I've never seen it.
You've seen the original Star Trek? McCoy's blonde nurse that you had in sick bay with the blue top.
Yeah.
Nurse Chapel.
Yeah.
Majel Barrett played Nurse Chapel.
Right, and she
was married to Gene Roddenberry.
Right. Right.
Both of them are dead now.
Yeah.
Both Majel Barrett and Gene Roddenberry. She plays the madam
does she?
in the brothel.
No, that one...
You missed that?
I missed that one, mate.
Right.
I never missed it on the cast, so he's got me here.
Yeah, it's also provided a computer voice on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been associated with Star Trek for years. But yeah, she plays the madam in the brothel.
Okay, yeah.
So that's that one, Majel Barrett.
Okay, that's a good one. Also, the chief supervisor, Alan Oppenheimer.
Mm-hmm.
$6 million Man, Space Sentinels, Battle of the Planets, and you can go through his CV and find anything from the 70s, like Scooby-Doo, Hong Kong Phooey, all the classic cartoons. Is a voice, he was the original. Who was it? What was the stereotypical Scooby-Doo guy? The villain. It's like it was Mr. Peabody or something like that. Yeah, and he was that guy.
Yeah.
So any of those voices back then, and he was the chief supervisor. The medieval queen, Victoria Shaw. She was in Man from U.N.C.L.E., Ironside, Charlie's Angels. There's a lot of 80s TV, 70s, 80s. Sheriff Terry Wilson, Escape to Witch Mountain, which is a film I hate to remember, but I do, and The Dukes of Hazzard. So, then there were not big stars other than Yul Brynner. Yul Brynner must have been on the biggest payday here.
And he's probably got the shortest script.
Yeah.
He doesn't say much other than when he's antagonising him at the bar. And get this boy a bib, he needs his mummy and all this, and all he has to say in the street is draw.
He was the
perfect
Arnold Schwarzenegger of his day, wasn't he?
This thing scares me more than the Terminator.
Really? Yeah.
The bit at the end where it's burning and it sort of flops about on the floor a bit, and its last action, as it was, is to sort of flip over onto its sort of back while it's lying on the floor, and the front's open, and you can see the machinery in there, and it's like it's looking at him without a faceplate, and it's just the machinery inside his head. The sort of 70s electronics. This is transistors and cathode ray tubes in there. There's no microchips or silica. It's the technology of the day. It looked like opening up my old Commodore 64 or something, you know what I mean? And that freaks me. I think that's genuinely spooky.
It is, yeah. And this is the relentlessness of a machine just wanting to do, whatever it is. Well, this one wasn't programmed to kill, it's a...
Well, I mean, Dean's made a point that he felt like the Black Knight and the medieval Europe and the castle and that wasn't, it didn't really integrate. He wanted the Black Knight himself to be more of an antagonist and all this, that and the other. I think it just serves the purpose to show that this thing is happening throughout not Westworld, or the Dallas resort, that all of these androids are experiencing problems. I mean, because the sort of Black Knight stabbing the guy, and then that medieval hussy, what's her name? Was it Dorothy or something like that? She refuses that guy's advances and does it 3 times, and it's to show that these things, I think the androids themselves, it's not an isolated incident with Yul Brynner, but it's happening across the park sort of thing.
But it isn't AI, is it? Or is it? Are they starting to believe that they're their own characters, or is it just the virus that someone's put into the machines?
I don't know. I mean, they allude to the fact that these are machines designed by computers, so they don't know quite how they work. As if the computer itself has been given a free hand, say, "Here you go, knock that up." What a gunslinger!
Well, he couldn't knock it up, could he?
No,
he weren't allowed.
But I don't know. I think more along the virus thing. I don't think they've become intelligent. I think it's just like a glitch or something like that.
But I think watching the film, I was keen to see different worlds. You know, we had Rome, we had Westworld, you know, we had medieval England or Europe.
Yeah.
It would have been great, you know, like Jurassic Park, you know. And watching the film, I remember even as a kid, I wanted there to be like different eras and stuff like that, you know.
Well,
So-
you would put another eras in there, were you?
I was in my mind, yeah. I was like,
Cave world,
well, definitely dinosaurs.
ancient Egypt.
Even back there, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, even like a Second World War or something like that. You can imagine people putting things like conflicts and stuff like that.
The Star Wars world.
Yeah.
The Stormtrooper would never shoot you anyway, so you'd
No,
be pretty
they'd
safe
miss.
there.
Yeah, they'd miss.
Yeah, I mean,
something like that.
Yeah,
But
great idea. Yeah.
it's still a problem in a theme park to have actors playing characters, because actors can be abused by people attending the theme park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They can be spat at, they can be hit, they can be whatever, you know. So I can understand why having androids perform duties like this, you know, there's lots of parks where you've got animatronics, like in Disneyland, things like that, and they're rubbish. They are rubbish still to this day. I mean, I don't know if you've been on Pirates of the Caribbean, Dave, or stuff like that. I know that influenced Michael Crichton, Pirates of the Caribbean. He went on the ride and it was like...
The one in Florida?
No,
Not
the one
Florida,
near California, in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
Anaheim, because it was the original one.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I went on it, and it was built when in the 50s, and it is still amazing. I mean, they've got tiny like LED lights that move around like mosquitoes or fireflies and things like that. And you look up to the sky, and it looks like a real sky, but you're in the actual building. And all the pirates are moving and singing and dancing and stuff like that. And it's really good. So I can see why Michael Crichton went on that boat, through that ride, and thought, actually, imagine if these came alive one day and, you know, started thinking for themselves. So
Yeah.
yeah. So 1983, the film is set.
Okay.
I don't know if you got that down.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
10 years in the future from when it was made.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember seems a bit indulgent for 1983. I mean, it's vague at best anyway. I'd be only 8 years old, but my memories of 1983 were still, it was pretty grim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people were still wearing donkey jackets. And
Yeah, and the punks were kind of dying out, but they
there was a legacy of them out there
you
still,
would
weren't
still
there?
see sort of multicoloured mohawks around Essex when I was down there. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and watching striking miners and burning oil drums and stuff on telly, and you know.
Yeah, and bloody Coming Home and Jimmy Tarbuck would be on doing some crap game show or something like that.
Yeah.
Eating blancmange.
Yeah, some rubbish like that. So I don't know. I think the 1980s is still a sort of really just the 70s, but extended out. Yeah, I mean, things like the hovercraft, I think, there's some smart effects when you see the ground reflected in the hovercraft pilot's shades, and they're sort of talking the hovercraft in, and it sort of comes and docks on that pillar thing, although you don't see that much of the hovercraft in external shots. What you do see, and I think this is probably where Dean's coming from with his Thunderbird-esque craft thing, is like the sort of top fin and that of the hovercraft cutting through the air, and it's got like a pod on the end of like a wing, and that does look a bit like the old Fireflash airliner from the original Thunderbird series.
Yeah.
It's that sort of style. It does look a bit sort of Jerry Anderson, you know. It wouldn't surprise me if it came up filmed in Super Mario Nation as it was going along. It does look that style. The actual font of the film, characters like Brolin with his haircut, and the character that plays guy that plays Peter Martin with his tash, and it does look a bit 1970s. It's a bit of it with the two of them walking down the street, first dressed as cowboys. I mean, they're obviously acting the role. Later on, as Martin, who's quite reluctant to start with, actually starts to settle in and enjoy Westworld, he's sort of walking along with a bit of a swagger, you know, fingers in his gun belt. He's playing up the part. When he's first there, he looks a bit nervous and a bit apprehensive, and his sort of thumbs rammed down his belt, and it just looks a bit like the village people walking along the streets, sort of thing. It does look dated. It looks badly dated like that, but like I said, it's the actual story and some of the concepts and ideas in it are just as valid today. It's credible in that respect.
Well, I think when we look back at these films, that, you know, going back this far, when you look at the cast, you look at their CVs and you realise that there was like non-existent sci-fi pre 50s. You know, it was nothing. There was nothing. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock came up with some good sci-fi ideas, but you had the Twilight Zone, Ray Bradbury Theatre, things like that, and they were the only. You know, obviously there were the comic books that had sci-fi stories in, but for people like Michael Crichton, I can imagine him growing up thinking, right, I'm gonna get one of these on film, you know, make a proper sci-fi film. And this, as you said, you know, it certainly pushed people in. The 70s were a decent time for growth for you know, science fiction.
Well, by the end of the decade, but this to me feels like it's very early on.
Yeah, this is post Star Trek, obviously, and you know, so we've got sci-fi on Earth. It's not out in space, and you know, it looks.
Crichton does that well. He does it well with the Andromeda Strain.
Yeah, that's right. Which is one of his first novels, I think. Yeah.
I think that was filmed at around the same sort of time as this. I mean, I don't know the quote off the top of my head, but yeah. I mean, to me, Michael Crichton's a sort of that tries to put a science and a logic to what he's doing. It's not just little green men, you know. And there has to be a process in these films for whatever goes wrong to go wrong, and for them to resolve it in whatever way. It's like in the Andromeda Strain when he's got a load of isolated scientists working on it, and they solve the virus and so on. I like Crichton as a novelist. I think when he went on to the Jurassic Park films, from what I understand, I've not read the books, but they are quite a departure from the books.
Well, I read the first Jurassic Park before the film came out.
Right.
And I remember being disappointed when the second Jurassic Park film came out, which I fell asleep in, to be honest. But there were moments that had been taken from the first book that hadn't been used.
Right.
You know, so it's like, yeah, that was great. What can we do next? And I think he wrote the novel, you know, before the film came out or during, you know, filming, something like that. So it was the original Jurassic Park was fantastic. Yeah. What else? He wrote The Great Train Robbery, the novel for that. Rising Sun, which I remember with Sean Connery. Congo, which was that one about great apes with intelligence. Disclosure, which was a bit of a racy one with Michael Douglas and Demi Moore. Twister, you know, the Bill Paxton starring, he wrote that. Jurassic Park: The Lost World, and Sphere, which is a film we talked about before with Sharon Stone. And I have never seen it, but that was his first like alien film. So the first you know, sort of the 13th Warrior. Did you ever see that?
Sphere isn't alien.
It's not alien.
No,
don't they find
book.
a craft or something on that?
Yeah, they find a craft, but I think it turns out the insinuation for the film was it's an alien craft because they can't understand it. But something towards the end of the book. It's been a while since I read it. It's actually a human craft.
Oh,
and
right.
It's come from somewhere else. It's come from another time.
Yeah.
And been preserved there, kind of thing.
Okay. So we never got to an alien film then?
No.
Okay.
That's the twist in it. It's not an alien spaceship at the end. It's a human construct, I believe. Like I said, it's been a long time since I read the book, so I can't give you the details. I mean, in the book, they've got like a sort of clam thing that people can climb in and it affects the psychology, and one of the crew goes in this thing and they don't come out for days and there's hallucinations. It's quite complex and convoluted, the book is. I've never seen the film, like I said, I've read the book, but it's been a long time since I've read it. But yeah, and obviously influence of things like Terminator and the fact that this thing keeps coming, and you do think at some stages, what does it take to stop it, to kill it? Martin does the stupidest thing possible when he's having a bit of a shootout with him and he's got the rifle and at the rocks. He forgets the gun and rides off without it. But yet we know that firearm's capable of stopping an android because he's already killed him 3 or 4 couple of times with it.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, and he forgets it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there are those little inconsistencies in it. If you could go to any one of the Delos resorts, any one of the 3 worlds, which one would you go to?
Probably ancient Rome. I guess it'll be a bit more decadent. I guess. Do
you think so?
Yeah.
You think it's going to be all togas and Frankie goes
I hope
to Hollywood
so.
or something?
Free pouring wine and being fed grapes. Before Vesuvius erupts, obviously. But yeah, I think it'll be a nice place. I mean, let's be honest. Medieval Europe, you know.
Yeah.
A bit muddy.
Plague.
Yeah, lots of disease. Yeah. It's not the best place to go.
No.
I think the Romans knew how to have a good time.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Westworld. I mean, a bit dry.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, where would you go? And would you go to Westworld? Out of the 3?
I probably would.
Yeah.
I think I'd just get bored of the actual indulgence of Roman world, to be honest. like you say, I don't know quite what you do in ancient Rome, where you sit around playing a lute while togered up honeys feed you grapes or so. I don't know how it works.
I don't know what your problem is with that, Dave. I think it sounds alright.
I know, but I just would have been. I don't know. I think I'd rather go to Westworld and
Well, it reminds me of Red Dwarf. You know, the gunfighters.
Is that the Horsemen of the Apocalypse?
That's it.
One?
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called. The Riviera Kid, the cat.
Oh yeah,
brilliant. Yeah. With the doves, isn't it? Yeah, with Crichton as the old drunk sheriff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And it was spoofed again in Red Dwarf in the episode Meltdown in 1991 and Series 4. And that's they go to a similar place where there are androids. I remember there's Adolf Hitler and a few others, and they sort of, it's like a theme park world in Red Dwarf. So yeah. Also, The Simpsons, Itchy and Scratchy Land. The androids go wrong in that. And there was a parody made in 1978 called Sex World, which I haven't seen myself, but I by the title it sounds a bit racy.
I'm sure it's out there if you looked for it.
Yeah, with Sylvia Crystal probably as a Manuel droid or something like that in 1978. Yeah. The interesting fact I found here, that the term gunslinger was only created in the 1950s and has no connection to the Wild West.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was probably in the old 50s Western movies they came up with that term. The gardens of comedian Harold Lloyd, the silent comedian with the glasses, were used for some of the amusement park scenes.
Yeah. It's quite a good set, I think.
Yeah.
Westworld looks quite good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks nice.
The carts and the banks and the jail and classic Western adventures in there. You've got the bar brawl, he busts him out of jail, and the brothel, the bordello, and fantastic set, I think, for it. Medieval world's pretty much restricted to the banquet hall, isn't it? And the bedchamber bit. Roman world, I think it's just a little bit of nice garden furniture around a set of fountains. But I think it's okay, it looks alright.
All of them fit in quite well with the California desert and quite easy, locatable from Los Angeles, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I think for the set's not too bad. Yeah, good film.
The Western set used for Westworld was also used for Blazing Saddles.
Right.
Not too long after.
Okay.
When the gunslinger's face is splashed with acid, Yul Brynner was coated in oil-based makeup, and a ground Alka-Seltzer was used to
get the fizz.
Yeah, the fizz and effect. Classic.
Well, it works all right there.
Yeah,
it does
looks
what it
good.
needs to.
What else? Yeah, director John Carpenter based the indestructible nature of Halloween's Michael Myers on the Gunslinger.
Right.
Similarly, Arnold Schwarzenegger used Yul Brynner's performance for the Terminator, as we've said. Michael Crichton, became inspired to write it after the Disneyland Pirates of the Caribbean ride, as I mentioned. Yul Brynner was hit in the cornea by a blank cartridge, which delayed filming, as he couldn't wear his light-reflecting lenses.
Yeah, it's like a silver reflecting sort of contact lens, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think they're quite advanced for that time. I don't know how advanced...
I think there's some in one of the medieval world characters. I think when the medieval servant wench, whatever you want to call her, whatever her name is, Daphne, when she refuses that bloke's advances, I think her eyes glow or something like that. Or is it when Martin's got one of the hussies in bed? I don't know. Why do I keep thinking about all the birds in bed in this film?
They're the highlights.
Classic 70s birds. Yeah.
But I don't know what contact lens technology was like in 1972. But they're pretty good. I mean, now anyone can buy these contact lenses in a joke shop, even, and they're pretty safe, I think. But back then, it must have been pretty dangerous to put things in your eyes like that.
But I think that sort of silver effect in the eyes, that sort of to show the ones that are infected or gone rogue, gone bad, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. When James Brolin is attacked by the rattlesnake, he was actually bitten by the lower jaw of the snake, despite wearing padding.
Right.
Fortunately, the snake had been milked of the venom, but he was.
So that is an actual rattlesnake.
Yeah, he's an actual rattlesnake.
I didn't know they just filmed a normal one going across the desert, then someone chucked a rubber one out and it got lucky.
That used to happen a lot, didn't it?
One of the things you could sort of buy in a sort of Banham Zoo gift shop when you're on a school trip.
I remember
rubber
that.
things.
Yeah. There's a good trick you can do if you get some fishing line and tie it to the back of someone, and when they're running, it's coming after them.
Well, of course it is.
Yeah, it's always good. That's about all I've got, really, mate. On the Westworld, I haven't got any more facts. I mean, it was one of those films that I read a lot about, but seemed to be repeated information. So I guess with the new series coming up, people are more interested again and they want to revisit it. I never saw the series to this film. Did you catch that?
No.
The original series.
Beyond Westworld or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how long that lasted.
I think that was only around a dozen episodes or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there was much to it.
And what I like about this movie, it's only an hour and 28 minutes long.
Yeah.
Which, is perfect for like a, Sunday afternoon sort of post roast.
Yeah.
Get on the sofa and watch this. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I watched it coming home from work tonight. I Sky Plus it from when it was on last night.
Yeah.
And I sort of watched it, came in, had a shower, had my tea, doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's not like a sort of modern epic films that will have to be like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
It's a more sensible time. But yeah, fantastic performance from Yul Brynner. I think he enjoyed this performance.
Mm-hmm.
I think it suited him. He's the only standout actor. I think the rest of them basically are adequate, but that's all they need to be. Yeah, great film.
I would, give it a rating probably around 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Mainly because of as we talked about, the sort of the aging of the movie now. When they're in Westworld, when they're in the different zones, it doesn't really matter the age.
It's a great concept, not necessarily the best execution.
Yeah. And I don't know if this was the feature debut of Michael Crichton, because some of our criticisms, I'm sure he put right later, his works. But 7 I'd say out of 10, and I think it's prime terra firma sci-fi. It isn't about otherworld stuff. It is about technology going wrong, and it was one of the sort of precursors to the films that we've suggested. So and it influenced a lot of our favourite directors. So.
Yeah, a lot of our favourite films and a lot of our favourite actors. It all came from this. I just think up to this point, we had a lot of Star Trek and Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon and stuff, and Michael Crichton took a science fiction idea and quite an intelligent one and made a film out of it. And he fought it through to a degree. I think. Yeah. It was groundbreaking in its day. It's dated, but the actual concept, the story and the ideas are valid, and they have stood up. So possibly, I'd say around 7.5 perhaps. Yeah, on the higher end of 7. I don't. It wouldn't make 8, but yeah.
I think Michael Crichton must have some kind of must have had some sinister sort of thoughts, because you go to Disneyland being a happy parent or whatever, and you come up with an idea. Oh, hold on, what about if these things started killing people? So it's kind of like, I guess, going to the beach and there's a killer shark. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? Somewhere where humans go for amusement but end up on the wrong side of sort of tragedy.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think we can get much more out of Westworld.
No, I think we run that one dry.
Yeah. Other than the fact that when we go to Feel the Force, I think we should go as cosplayers as the gunfighter or something.
That's not a bad idea, actually. I'll go as a buxom wench.
The buxom wench?
Yeah, why not?
We'll just get you a wig.
I'll get some padding and stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're going to Feel the Force. We didn't say that in the Star Wars news, but
no.
That's in Peterborough, which is pretty close to us, isn't it?
Saturday the 1st of October, which would be the weekend we're due to record again. We go there on a Saturday, and we'll possibly do a special at some point afterwards.
Of course.
Depends on what we go.
Get plenty of pictures, and hopefully it'll be a good day out. I mean, it's interesting to see how it would be done locally after conferences through the summer in London.
I'm not 100% sure what to expect of this. I mean, we know it caters primarily for disabled fans and people, which is great. That's good that someone does. But there's I don't know, it seems a very much community thing to it as well. There's a note on one of its social media pages the other day about people bringing food and what sort of food you can and can't bring, and make sure you bring enough, because somebody donated a load of cakes to it, and these cakes had to feed 500 people or something like that. It sounds very sweet, but it's only a 500 person attended convention or something. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to get from this. Yeah.
So if we went in full costume, we might be a bit embarrassed, because maybe there won't be enough people dressed up, cosplayers and stuff.
I don't know. So it's a bit of an unknown to us, but we're looking forward to going and seeing what's there.
Yeah, certainly.
Some interesting guests there. I guess we'll be in Hot Wampa attire on the day.
Yeah, we'll get our t-shirts on, and we'll be definitely taking photos and stuff.
Yeah, if you're a listener and you recognise us, please come over and have a word.
Yeah, and let us know. How many times you've been there? Is it your first time, like us? It is certainly on paper a different day out, isn't it, for fans of sci-fi and Star Wars? So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
I said we're not 100% quite sure what it is. It's a bit vague as sort
No.
of the programme and the itinerary and what have you to it,
Yeah.
but it looks good. So,
It's kind of like stepping into a disco in another city. You know, I don't know what to expect, but let's, fingers crossed it's good.
yeah, we won't either be thrown out or be in a punch-up within a few seconds or something.
Well, as long as you bring your gun belt, we'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll be fine. So we'll be looking forward to that. So I don't know if we'll be doing another show in what should have been the release, because this is late, so I'm kind of, this quantum thing I do when I get confused as to where we are, where we'll be and where we've been.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's the weekend we're scheduled to record again. I don't know whether we will record again that weekend or whether we'll record shortly after. How that's going to work out, because like I said, we're at the convention on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So we'll just see how that goes. We'll play that by ear.
Yeah, and I'm sure we can talk about it on when we're travelling there or travelling back. So.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get on with some cringe-worthy stuff, shall we?
Oh yes.
Okay, local news. This one's from the Eastern Daily Press on the 14th of September 2016. I don't normally go to the Eastern Daily Press, but I was so tight because nothing's been happening around here.
Did you go to the website or do you buy the paper? Or?
I just went to the website.
Yeah, because I remember the paper used to be a real thick old thing that came in. Is it weekly? I think.
Yeah.
Daily Press.
Bit of a broadsheet. I just put down crazy local news, East Anglia, in Google.
And it popped up.
This is the first one that came up.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. A legal challenge to prevent the UK's biggest arm hall being destroyed has fizzled out at its first hearing before Ipswich magistrates. The wife of former Witherspoon Parish Council Chairman James Arnold has instigated proceedings through Ashton solicitors based at Ipswich waterfront to prevent the destruction of more than 400 weapons, including machine guns, handguns, shotguns and rifles. Arnold died in prison from cancer in July 2014 while awaiting trial after police found 463 weapons at his Potash Lane near Snowmarket. Most were concealed in a specially made hide in an extension to the 49-year-old's cottage. In April this year, Suffolk Constabulary began cutting up the guns using a special machine. However, very shortly afterwards it ceased destroying the weapons after being contacted by Ashton's representing Arnold's wife, Lynn. At the time, it's understood there were still around 420 of the firearms which remained intact. It's never been said on what grounds the challenge was made. Please don't destroy my late husband's 450 firearms. That's all I've got of him.
Some of them are engraved or something like that.
Yeah.
Darling,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas 1982.
Oh, not the musket from the crime.
Yeah.
That's what he got me on our wedding night.
Oh, great days.
Yeah. Okay. After yesterday's hearing at South East Suffolk Magistrates Court, a spokeswoman for Ashton cited data protection issues preventing the firm giving a reason when asked why he had brought the proceedings. During the hearing, the clerk of the court told magistrates the court had received an email from Lynn Arnold, the potential complainant, confirming she did not wish to attend court and was no longer opposing Suffolk Constabulary's right to destroy the weapons. Magistrates subsequently made a destruction order. Police are likely to restart destroying the guns immediately. It brings to an end one of Suffolk's most intriguing crime stories, which also led to the jailing of fantasist and Norfolk gun dealer, the self-styled Sir Anthony Buckland, earlier this year. After his arrest, it emerged that he had invented his knighthood, given himself an MBE and concocted a glittering army career during which he claimed to be in the SAS. The haul found at Arnold's home in the spring of 2014 included 177 rifles, 136 handguns, 88 shotguns, 38 machine guns, and 24 miscellaneous weapons such as flare guns.
Wow.
There was also a large amount of detonation cord, an anti-tank missile, and over 200,000 rounds of ammunition.
That's incredible.
That's bizarre. At the time of Arnold's death, he had been charged with possessing a prohibited Uzi machine gun, an AK-47 assault rifle, a bolt-action shotgun, and a self-loading rifle gun. But he had been likely to face further accusations. Police admit they will almost certainly never know why James Arnold amassed such an astonishing number of weapons. A number of theories have been put forward, but Arnold has taken that secret with him to the grave.
That's amazing. That's a lot of, in the UK, obviously, guns are a no-no. Apart from if you're hunting on a farm or something like that.
Even then, it's incredibly regulated. I mean,
yeah,
we
it's
have
really
some
difficult
of the
to get a license, isn't it?
tightest firearms rules in the world. So how the hell did he manage to get over 400? And how the hell amongst them did he get things like anti-tank weapons and machine guns?
Do you think they're like collected from antique places and stuff like that? And then because some of these things an
Uzi?
An Uzi, yeah, it's quite modern.
Flare guns.
Flare guns can be used for
an anti-tank missile.
That's a different
Well, I don't
one.
see that on Antiques Hunt.
No.
I'll give you £5 for this.
David Dickerson. Let's see how much we make for it.
200,000 rounds of ammunition.
Is he a prepper? Is he waiting for a zombie apocalypse or something?
This sounds to me like
Yeah.
he didn't want to give up these guns easily. It's a good job he didn't want to make a shootout of it, really.
Well, when you said about his sort of hidden cove, that says a lot, doesn't it? When you
his
start
cottage.
hiding stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're aware that it's a dangerous and illegal thing to do, and you're trying to hide or disguise
Well, what
it.
if you're a sort of kid innocently playing, cowboys and Indians or something around his property, and you stagger in there?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what I mean? It looks like the back of BA's van when you open the door from
You
the 18.
find a
It's just-
secret grotto, and
Yeah, this ain't no Narnia in here. You walk in there and it's like, mental. Well, what's this about his wife? Why the hell would she oppose them destroying the firearms?
there must be some
What the hell was
sentimental
she
reasons.
got? Sentimental reasons. Oh God! Oh yeah, I remember when we picked up the anti-tank weapon when we went on our second honeymoon. When we reaffirmed our vows to Barcelona or something. You can't chop that up.
Darling, don't forget the anti-tank gun. Just imagine those ones like in RoboCop. They had the big ones. They got these huge anti sort of tank weapons. It's amazing, yeah.
But it does remain it's sort of one of these enigmas. This story that we never will know because he died in jail and it never said why.
Who was the false Knight of the Realm? What was his name?
The self-styled Sir Anthony Buckland.
Yeah, that's an interesting story.
Fantasist and Norfolk gun dealer.
Yeah. I mean, that guy, you imagine, he said he was in the SAS, and you imagine challenging him, and he sort of gets a bit angry with you and said, wait here, I'm just going to get something, that's a crazy...
That'd be like the scene in Commando when he finds the room round the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mental story. I haven't got any other local news, though.
What have I got? Garfield makes a return.
Yeah, he's readmitted, isn't he, to Virgin?
The Sainsbury's cat has been allowed back on his favourite Virgin couch in Ealing.
Yeah.
So, everyone's happy about that. They haven't said why he's been allowed back, because he was accused of scratching a young girl and...
complaints made to head office and this, that and the other.
Banned him. But, I think you've got to judge these things on a local level, and obviously the cat's popular. He's popular with Sainsbury's staff and visitors to the supermarket. He's a fan of the show, so we've got to give him a shout out, and glad that he's got his old sofa back, especially as the weather's getting a bit colder now. So.
Well, I don't know how you can ban him anyway. What do you say to him? You sort of take him to one side and say you're not coming in here anymore. He doesn't understand that.
Pick him up by the scruff of the neck and say, hey, you're not coming back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that's good news, and I'm sure there'll be lots of photos of Garfield back in the Virgin saddle.
Yeah. More work for you to do as a moderator on his site.
Yeah, as I do a bit of extra work for him, moonlighting. Yeah. Other news here, Cambridge news. I picked this one up from. There's been a ban on punt touts, which is a difficult thing to say, in Cambridge. Because when you're walking down King's Parade, you get lots of people trying to intimidate you into a punt. So now they've actually been banned, and I've seen positive reactions and negative reactions to this. Negative because Scudamores runs like 4 punt stations along the river, and the owner of Scudamores is on the council. So obviously he's got some sort of beneficial status here. Now there are several independent punt stations, and they're not allowed to promote themselves. You have to go to them now, and I think it's a loss for the smaller sort of punters. And for Scudamore, it means he probably still keeps the monopoly in Cambridge.
Okay.
So, Yeah, but I mean, have you ever been harassed by these people with the boards as you walk through Cambridge?
No.
No.
The only person I've ever been harassed by is a squeegees at a traffic lights once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You see that on the continent a lot, don't you? But
yeah, about 15 years ago, and I was coming up to it, and I think, I hope this don't turn to red, because I can't really be bothered with it. Of course, they turned to red, and I was caught at the junction. I'm sitting there waiting. There's 2 or 3 of them, and they all fucking soap goes across my windscreen, the soap, and they're all sort of smiling through, and I'm pretending they're not there. Which
yeah,
is
looking left and
when
right.
you've got 2 or 3 grown blokes crawling across your car bonnet, it's a bit difficult to pretend they're non-existent. So I just drove off and I didn't pay them, and they shouted something snidey as it was. So I shouted something out the window, and one of them shouted something, I don't know, shout that at me again and I'll bite your face off or something or other.
Wow.
It got a bit snotty. I went round the corner and I walked back round and it scarpered down the road. But yeah, that's the only people that have ever really...
Where was this?
Not far from Parkside.
Okay.
Sort of that big cross junction up there. The green's on one side. You're going to have to forgive me because I can't think the name of it. But you've got like a big cross junction. You've got the green. You've got sort of Parkside over here, and sort of, is it the YMCA and all that down that?
Yeah. So Gonville Place.
Yeah. That junction there.
Yeah.
But I was heading. If you're going up that way towards town, from the left, and I got caught at those red traffic lights there.
Yeah.
It's round the corner and in Parkside. Car park where I parked.
Near the police station as well.
Yeah. And I walked back round, like I said, they'd scarpered down the road when I'd walk back round. But that's the only time I've ever been sort of intimidated or broached sort of by a independent business as such in Cambridge.
You don't really see that very often these days. Maybe in London, I don't know, in bigger cities, I don't know. But I remember when I lived in Palermo in Sicily, people used to get stopped with boxes of pineapples. They were trying to sell you pineapples at the lights.
Oh, I've had it in foreign countries.
Yeah.
We went to Sri Lanka years ago, and we was going somewhere in that, and we had like a people carry, just me and the missus, and the tour driver, stroke tour guide. It was the same guy driving in the front of this people carry, and we were going through somewhere rural. We were staying, wasn't far from, what's it called, Colombo, and we were going on an excursion to Kandy to have a look at that, and we were sort of halfway between the two. We stopped at this sort of palatial gardens place, and we stopped on the side of the road. I think the driver just went to go in this local shack, which doubled up as a shop, and I don't know, he's sort of after his bread, milk, tea and sugar sort of thing, pick up his daily sort of thing. Gets out of the people carrier thing and shuts the door and clears off and leaves me and the missus sitting in the back of the people carrier. And while there's these kind of local guys wearing looks almost like a loincloth, like something out of Tarzan, if you will, sort of a sub-Indian continent Tarzan type characters with beards and stuff. They see us parked there and they immediately climbed up the tree, started pulling these things off his tree, these furry things, I don't know what they were, then trying to sell them through the window. And I was like this sort of waving my hands, like, I don't want it, mate. And then he's sort of illustrating the fact that you eat it, all the rest of it is food.
He's got 2 hairy things in his hands.
That's what it looked like, a sort of gooseberry, like a hairy gooseberry thing.
I've heard a few things called that,
Yeah. But that, I have had it happen when we've been abroad, and we've been to Thailand as well. We were going around the floating marketplace in Bangkok, and we were going up and down there. And of course, you got vendors in the side, little rafts and stuff, trying to flog things. And it's up to you whether you haggle for it. I have had it abroad, but that's the only time I've ever had somebody sort of broach me in this country.
Did you have a linen suit on when you were in Bangkok? I can imagine you a bit like Roger Moore, on a long-tailed boat.
I'll tell you when that was, 1998, because it was 3 a.m, and when I watched us go out to Argentina in the hotel bar, and by the time all the England fans were staggering out there, watery-eyed, bleary-eyed and half-drunk, they were actually starting to serve breakfast to the other guests. Wow. The place still looked like a war zone in there, where we'd all been in there. So it was 1998, but no, I just think I was just wearing like shorts and t-shirt, and baseball cap, and a sort of sunnies, typical tourist thing, But
that's a good place to hang out.
Yeah.
So what else have we got? Okay, on Google Streetview, I don't know if you saw this one, Dave. There's a Frisian cow down on the River Cam in Cambridge, and Google Streetview blurred its face. So I feel a bit reluctant to mention the cow by name, but
Daisy, oh God, we've done it now.
Yeah, so why have they blurred the cow's face? There's another heifer opposite on a different side, and you could see that one's face. Google actually got back and said our software has become overzealous and decided that it was a human face and blurred it out. But the poor bloody cow probably wanted to tell its parents, like, I've been on Google Earth or Google Images.
And they can't now. Its face is blurred, a bit like when they show you a photograph of someone from the SAS. It's been obscured deliberately, so you can't identify it.
What had that cow done before?
I don't know. I mean, I'd be peeved about it. Like you said, if you wanted to tell people about it, I mean, I'd have a fair bit of beef with Google about it, I think.
Utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's been retweeted over 9,000 times, so a lot of people enjoyed it. But, they said that the cow was milking its 5 minutes of fame.
Oh, dear.
What else? Going up north to Hull. Now, I've renamed it the Hull Mouth because there's so many incidents going on around the area, and this is from the Hull Daily Mail.
You're starting to like this, aren't you? The whole Daily Mail. It's
yeah.
like becoming like a sort of Reader's Digest of the bizarre to you, isn't it?
I want a column in that paper, I think.
Yeah.
But last month it was an 8-foot werewolf called Old Stinker.
Yeah.
This month is a puma that's been photographed in North Cave near Hull.
Is this the whole cougar you were talking about in the chat?
That's right, and it's a pretty good photo of a puma in a small wooded area just behind like a large log, and you can see its full face, and it definitely is a puma.
Okay.
However, I would say that the light looks quite strange and it is a bit grainy. So I guess it was taken on a mobile device, but I'm still sceptical where it is, whether it is an actual puma or if it's just been photoshopped into the forest. So I'm not sure, but they have found several sort of remains of sheep and rabbits and different animals around the area. So either Old Stinker's there, or it's this puma, or puma is Old Stinker.
The two are interchangeable.
Yeah.
One's getting mistaken for the other. I thought Old Stinker was supposed to have a human face.
Yeah, 8 foot high as well.
Did you read that story I sent you about him apparently being spotted eating a German Shepherd?
Yeah, that's right.
Back in March or May or whenever it was.
Yeah, down by some sort of storm drain or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, isn't he called the Beast of something drain? He frequents a drain.
He's got several names, which in itself says he's getting pretty famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think we ought to go up to Hull and investigate for a weekend.
You don't think that whatever it is, the whole Daily Mail's a bit like News Hump or something like that? It's just a bit of a satirical laugh at things.
It could be, but it's an interesting area at the moment, and there are definitely plenty of stories coming out. So there have been people spotting something strange, peculiar, whatever it is, whether it's a puma or an 8-foot werewolf or a German Shepherd.
Yeah, but if somebody, this thing's been spotted eating a German Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think if somebody was missing their German Shepherd, they would know it wasn't there anymore. It's probably quite a presence in the life.
Something I often say to my students is, in England we're fortunate we don't have stray dogs really, like some places
really.
we've been. And if there is a stray dog, it gets picked up quite quickly, doesn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
One more. Cambridge News, 19th of September. A spate of pig escapes has been forcing Cambridgeshire police out chasing porkers. We've had quite a few here. One, Ramsey Road, Bury, 6 p.m. on September the 10th. The police were pursuing a pot-bellied pig down the road. And
one of them sort of Vietnamese type.
Yeah, that's it. George Clooney used to have one, didn't he?
Okay.
There are a few in Waterbeach as well. So I don't know if it's the weather or this time of year. Maybe there's a lot of apples on the ground, things like that. Maybe the pigs can smell them. They decide to make a break for it and get out.
Okay. Have you got a catalogue of pig escapes here?
I've got several. Yeah. One's in Pidley on Fen Road as well. So it's not in the same area.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's been 2 or 3 in the last week.
I didn't know if you're just scratching the surface of it.
Really. Don't. But yeah. Anyway, pig escapes. Have you ever seen an escaped pig?
No. What do you do? Phone up the pig warden and say, look, we've got one here, we've got a trotter. He's okay.
You made a pig's ear of that one, didn't you? I can't go there with crackling. You already covered that one.
Yeah.
So, it's a I don't know, around this area. Obviously, Norfolk has a lot of pigs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So round here, these sound like pets. They're all pot-bellied pigs. So.
They're all pot-bellied pigs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe it's a revolution.
You remember a few years ago, the thing in the news was that the Tamworth 2 or something.
That's right, yeah, a couple of...
There were 2 that escaped that were lined up for slaughter, weren't
Yeah.
they? And didn't they get some sort of reprieve, and they now live on an estate somewhere?
Yeah.
Well, I say they live on an estate, I don't mean they're in like a smoking jacket in
Yeah.
a drawing room or something, you know, with a portrait being done.
Did you say portrait?
Portrait. I think they're out on some sort of like home farm type thing, just
Yeah.
free to graze and live out the days kind of thing.
That'd be brilliant. No, but they're sort of, probably on a petting zoo or something like that. Right?
Yeah. They yeah. Well, basically the fact that they escaped saved the bacon. You know,
Oh,
whatever.
I can't keep up with him tonight.
No.
He's hamming it up tonight.
Oh, yeah. It's a bit bizarre, isn't it? Pig escapes, and like you say, a large number of pig escapes in a small period of time.
Yeah.
Perhaps there is something going on. I don't know. Do they breed on a seasonal basis, or they just sort of do they breed the way they eat anything, any time kind of thing?
I assume so. Yeah, I think they just get busy when they can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And if the missus says okay, it's gam on.
Yeah. No better time for a porking.
So there we are. That's the local news. Some little tidbits there. Really.
Yeah.
Some interesting ones. I'm tempted to visit the Whole Mouth, as I'm going to call it, because there's a lot of things going on up there.
I'm starting to think we could get a special out of Hull.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's enough cryptozoology and legends and stuff. I think it's worth a trip.
I think it is. You can imagine it. Yeah, like special. We could video it, couldn't we?
Yeah. Hot Wampa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you say Hog Wampa? I'm a bit... No, I keep hearing pig puns.
Oh dear. Yeah. It's getting tired now. It's getting rough, so we might as well call it a day. The jokes are getting terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to... Oh no, I thought you had a hog-tied one or something like that. So.
No, I can't think of anything more now.
But, yeah, we don't know what we're going to do with the next one, do we? Obviously,
No.
the Film the Force Day is coming up.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a discussion about the next showcase. Or if you've got any ideas, please put them forward to us. We're more than happy to sort of accommodate listener ideas. Feel the Force Day, I'm sure we'll have a slideshow, and it could be quite interesting because we don't know what to expect.
No.
I'm expecting cakes now. Dave said that though. I keep thinking about cakes. So.
It really is a lottery. We really don't know, do we?
No.
We've got our tickets printed out. I don't know, if you're listening, why don't you go along? Feel the Force Day 4 in Peterborough.
Mm-hmm.
For £4 though, I mean, it's pretty good value.
It's very good value, yeah.
And Peterborough is a relatively easy place to get to, whether it be by motor or by train, or you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's accessible, and if it's no good, we always go and have a look around Queensgate. I've got a feeling though it's going to be quite good. I'm more intrigued by the fact we don't know what it's about. Feel the Force is ambiguous. It's not strictly a Star Wars convention, is it? It's just a convention. I'd like to sort of think of it perhaps more of a sort of Comic-Con type thing, but.
And I like the idea behind it, like people who have disabilities, blind people, deaf people, things like that, feel the Force. You know, that's the whole idea behind it. That you know, they're experiencing Star Wars as we do when we go to conferences. But you know, this is friendly for people with disabilities, which is fantastic. So
yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll be talking about it soon enough. What it's all about.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll be a good day.
Live from the day.
Yeah, so we don't know when you hear from us again. Like I said, we're a bit sorry that this one's come out a bit late. It was unforeseen circumstances, but you know, things happen in life. We'll try to get back to a normal schedule.
Yeah, we're on point.
I think the thing will probably be early October, and we'll look to get a special out on Feel the Force Day.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's just sometime perhaps just after we've been, whether that be the next day or during the week or something like that. Try and get a special out on it.
Yeah.
I might even do an additional special this month because we've got no more shows I think to fit in this month.
Okay.
But we've still got quite a big chunk of feed space, but it's not big enough to fit a photo slideshow in. But I might do another audio special myself. I might sit down and watch a movie and do a commentary on it or something.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
good.
Have a go at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one night, quiet by myself before September ends. Have a go at it one night, just to fill the space up. So, but you won't get anything sort of official Hot Wampa programming, I think, until we've been Feel the Force Day.
Yeah.
So that'll be around early October sometime.
We'll be back.
We'll be back. Okay. Let's get out of here.
Okay. Cheers.
Bye.
Westworld, the ultimate resort. Boy, do we have a vacation for you, for you, for you, for you.